Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore.
In recent days, the once-allied paths of former President Donald Trump and tech titan Elon Musk have dramatically splintered in a public, high-stakes feud. Their heated clash, fueled by harsh accusations, threats to billion-dollar companies, and explosive social media posts, has captured global attention. Tonight, we unpack how a tight alliance unraveled into a dangerous confrontation with far-reaching consequences for politics, business, and the future of American technology. In the fall of 2023, Elon Musk emerged as the largest individual donor to former President Donald Trump's 2024 presidential campaign, contributing over $290 million through various political action committees. This unprecedented financial backing paved the way for Musk's appointment as co-chair of the newly established Department of Government Efficiency, colloquially known as DOGE, created to audit and streamline federal bureaucracy. The concept drew inspiration from earlier government efficiency commissions, but was infused with Musk's libertarian vision and technocratic enthusiasm. Under his leadership, the agency aggressively pursued sweeping reforms, including significant layoffs across multiple federal agencies and the elimination of numerous regulatory frameworks. The administration touted early savings amounting to tens of billions of dollars, although critics questioned the validity of these figures, arguing that the cuts disproportionately affected essential programs and compromised regulatory oversight. Musk's involvement marked a rare instance of a private sector billionaire exerting direct influence over national policy and federal governance. However, by the spring of 2025, internal tensions began to surface as Trump's base and political allies expressed growing unease with Musk's libertarian approach and perceived overreach within the government. Conservative factions criticized his laissez-faire stance on fiscal policy and regulatory reform, fearing it alienated core supporters. Reports indicated Musk's attention shifted away from government duties toward his private ventures, including Tesla, SpaceX, and his social media platform, X. His formal resignation from DOGE in late May was initially downplayed by Trump, who implied Musk's role remained influential behind the scenes. Yet the situation quickly deteriorated when Musk publicly condemned the flagship legislative proposal known as the One Big Beautiful Bill, describing it as a fiscal disaster inflating the national debt while eliminating electric vehicle subsidies critical to Tesla's competitive edge. Trump responded with harsh rhetoric, framing Musk's criticism as a betrayal of trust. The conflict escalated further when Musk alluded to Donald Trump's alleged connections to withheld Jeffrey Epstein-related documents, an incendiary accusation that intensified their feud. This marked a shift from a policy disagreement to a deeply personal and reputational confrontation. Trump retaliated aggressively, threatening to revoke subsidies and symbolically auction off Tesla holdings as a gesture of defiance, publicly disparaging Musk and dismissing reconciliation prospects. Analysts noted the potential fallout given Tesla, SpaceX, Starlink, and X's reliance on federal contracts and subsidies. The possible withdrawal of government support posed a serious threat to projects from Tesla's autonomous vehicles to SpaceX's ISS resupply missions. Trump's arsenal could delay fleet purchases, rescind subsidies, or restrict X's operations on national security grounds. Meanwhile, Musk revealed intentions to launch the America Party, aiming to attract centrists disillusioned with both major parties. A poll on X showed strong user support, signaling Musk's clear departure from Republican orthodoxy and estrangement from Trump. Behind the scenes, tentative discussions between aides suggested a fragile détente aimed at halting further escalation, though uncertainty and market volatility remain. Over 18 months, Musk's proximity to Trump's inner circle transitioned from political patron to public adversary, their feud unfolding live on social media. Understanding this conflict's significance requires examining how their alliance disintegrated into a high-stakes confrontation with profound implications for business, politics, and technology. The saga between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, already one of the most captivating narratives in American political and corporate history, reached a boiling point in early June 2025. What started as a simmering rivalry, marked by subtle jabs and pointed disagreements, erupted into a full-scale public war, exposing fissures not only in personal relationships but in the very fabric of power, politics, and business in the United States. The catalyst was Musk's explosive post on X, the social media platform he had acquired years earlier and transformed into a digital empire rivaling even Twitter's former glory. Musk took aim at the newly passed legislative package, ominously dubbed by its supporters as the One Big Beautiful Bill. This sweeping legislative framework was designed by the Biden administration to redefine the nation's economic landscape and overhaul decades-old infrastructure policies, with ambitious targets on everything from renewable energy incentives to federal transportation spending. But Musk's critique was scathing. In a long-form post written with his trademark mixture of technical insight and blunt candor, he condemned the bill's reckless and short-sighted spending spree, and most notably, the elimination of crucial subsidies for electric vehicles. These subsidies had been a lifeline for Tesla, the crown jewel of Musk's corporate empire and a global pioneer in electric vehicle technology. The removal of these supports was not just a financial blow, it was a strategic pivot that threatened Tesla's ability to compete internationally, particularly in markets where EV adoption was still heavily influenced by government incentives. Musk's post wasn't just a corporate complaint, it was a searing indictment of the administration's priorities. He framed the bill as an ill-conceived, politically motivated attempt to undermine innovation and throttle American competitiveness. For a man who had long portrayed himself as a futurist and an architect of progress, this was a red line. What shocked the nation and political observers worldwide was the sheer audacity of Musk's public denunciation. After all, Musk had not always been an outsider to political dealings. He had once served as co-chair of a government advisory agency, lending credibility and insight to federal initiatives. His sudden pivot from collaborator to critic sent ripples through Washington, signaling that the conflict was about to escalate beyond mere rhetoric. Enter Donald Trump, the former president, now wielding significant influence over his party, and its congressional allies responded swiftly and with characteristic ferocity. On the very same platform, Trump launched a blistering counterattack. His message was personal, biting, and unrelenting. He accused Musk of disloyalty, painting him as a self-serving opportunist. But it was the incendiary label, calling Musk a big-time drug addict, that stunned both supporters and detractors alike. This accusation, seemingly plucked from the playbook of Trump's most ruthless media confrontations, marked a sharp departure from earlier, more guarded exchanges. The public nature of the insult was more than just headline fodder, it was a declaration of an all-out war, where previous tensions had simmered beneath the surface or played out in carefully calibrated statements. This was raw, unfiltered, and deeply personal. Trump was signaling that he was ready to escalate the conflict on every front. What followed was a strategic offensive by Trump and his allies. Leveraging his considerable influence over regulatory bodies and loyal congressional members, Trump set in motion a series of investigations into Musk's sprawling corporate empire. Tesla, long scrutinized for its manufacturing practices and regulatory compliance, suddenly found itself under the microscope like never before. Federal agencies dug into every detail, from vehicle safety standards to environmental impact reports. Meanwhile, SpaceX, Musk's ambitious space exploration company, faced unprecedented delays in government contract approvals and funding requests, moves widely interpreted as political retribution rather than bureaucratic caution. The consequences for Musk were immediate and tangible. Stock markets reacted with volatility. Tesla's shares, often a barometer of investor confidence in Musk's vision, swung wildly. SpaceX's ambitious projects, many reliant on government contracts and regulatory goodwill, appeared increasingly uncertain in the face of mounting political pressure. Trump's theatrics didn't stop at government investigations. In a highly symbolic and provocative move, he publicly announced the auctioning off of his Tesla shares. The gesture was intended as a bold repudiation of Musk's challenge, a financial and psychological message aimed at undermining Musk's standing in the business community and among Tesla's loyal investors. Musk, ever the provocateur, didn't retreat. Instead, he amplified the conflict by dropping a bombshell accusation on his X platform, suggesting the existence of undisclosed documents linking Trump to Jeffrey Epstein, a figure whose shadow over American elite circles had long fueled speculation and scandal. Musk ignited a firestorm. The implications were explosive, reviving dormant controversies and amplifying public scrutiny on Trump's past associations. The fallout was immediate. Media outlets scrambled to verify and interpret Musk's claims. Political commentators debated. the veracity and motivations behind the accusation, but the damage was done. Public opinion hardened, dividing further along partisan lines, with each camp accusing the other of misinformation and character assassination. Amid the acrimony, X itself became a symbolic battleground, the platform once heralded as a digital town square for free speech and innovation, transformed into a war zone of competing narratives. Musk's supporters flooded the site with defenses and counterattacks, while Trump's followers rallied to reinforce their leader's position. Hashtags trended, memes exploded, and misinformation spread as both factions sought to control the digital narrative. Behind the scenes, however, there were faint signs of attempted diplomacy. Senior aides from both camps reportedly engaged in discreet talks, exploring ways to dial back the escalating conflict. These efforts, though ultimately unsuccessful, underscored the recognition that a prolonged feud could inflict lasting damage on both men's interests and reputations. Yet, despite these attempts at back-channel negotiations, public statements remained belligerent. Neither Trump nor Musk showed signs of backing down. The feud continued to dominate headlines and social media feeds, a reflection of the unprecedented convergence of political power and private enterprise in contemporary America. This saga illuminated broader concerns about the influence of billionaire entrepreneurs in the corridors of power. Musk, with his ventures spanning electric cars, space exploration, and social media, represented a new breed of business magnate whose reach extended far beyond traditional corporate boundaries. Trump, with his enduring political influence and loyal base, embodied a different kind of power, one rooted in populist appeal and control over legislative mechanisms. Their clash exposed vulnerabilities in the system, raising questions about accountability, conflicts of interest, and the potential for personal vendettas to shape public policy. The intertwining of political authority and private ambition created a volatile mix, one that tested the resilience of democratic institutions and regulatory frameworks. As the weeks unfolded, analysts and commentators dissected every move in this unfolding drama. The Trump-Musk feud became a case study in modern power dynamics, illustrating how personalities, politics, and profit collide in ways that can reshape national discourse. For Tesla and SpaceX, the stakes couldn't have been higher. Both companies stood at critical junctures with ambitious plans to revolutionize transportation on Earth and beyond. Any disruption, political or financial, threatened to derail years of innovation and investment. For Trump, the feud was equally consequential. It provided a platform to rally his base, assert dominance over political opponents, and signal his willingness to challenge even the most powerful figures in business. His unfiltered rhetoric resonated with supporters who saw Musk's critiques as emblematic of a broader elite conspiracy. In the end, the Trump-Musk conflict was more than a personal spat. It was a microcosm of larger tensions shaping America's future, tensions between innovation and regulation, celebrity and governance, individual ambition, and collective responsibility. As the dust settled, one thing was clear. This was a defining moment in the era of billionaire influence, a moment that would be studied, debated, and remembered as a turning point in the relationship between business titans and political power. Reactions to the Musk-Trump confrontation have been wide-ranging and often sharply divided. Within political circles, Trump loyalists condemned Musk as a turncoat who betrayed conservative principles for personal gain. Prominent Republican figures echoed Trump's criticisms, suggesting Musk's libertarian agenda undermined party unity and electoral prospects. Some commentators portrayed Musk's formation of the America Party as a spoiler tactic threatening to fracture the conservative base further. Conversely, many centrists and independents expressed support for Musk's move, applauding his critique of entrenched political interests and his willingness to challenge Trump's leadership. Business leaders and industry analysts voiced concern over the potential disruption to critical technology and infrastructure projects dependent on federal support. Tesla employees and SpaceX contractors reportedly experienced uncertainty about their company's future amid the political clash. On social media, the discourse was intense and often vitriolic. Musk's followers praised his outspoken stance and the vision behind his new party, while Trump's supporters rallied to defend their leader and discredit Musk's accusations. Media outlets grappled with coverage strategies, balancing factual reporting with the inherent drama of the feud. Legal experts weighed in on the implications of the Epstein document allegations, underscoring the seriousness of such claims and their potential to trigger further investigations. International observers noted how the public spat between two influential figures symbolize broader tensions within American politics and the evolving relationship between government and tech giants. Amidst the turmoil, calls for calm and reasoned dialogue emerged from various quarters, urging both men to prioritize national interest over personal animosity. Analysts and experts have underscored that the Musk-Trump feud represents a watershed moment in the fusion of technology, politics, and power in the United States. The unprecedented involvement of a billionaire entrepreneur in federal governance, followed by a very public falling out with a former president, signals shifting dynamics in how policy and business intersect. Political scientists warn that Musk's departure from Republican ranks and creation of a centrist political party could redraw the nation's political map, introducing new variables into an already polarized environment. Economists point to the risks posed by politicization of major corporations reliant on government subsidies and contracts, cautioning that such conflicts could hamper innovation and infrastructure development. The potential rollback of subsidies and government support for Tesla and SpaceX raises concerns about the United States' competitive position in the global race for clean energy and space exploration. Moreover, the use of social media platforms like X as battlegrounds for high-profile disputes reflects evolving challenges around information dissemination, political influence, and public perception. Legal scholars highlight that the allegations involving Epstein-related documents could initiate a cascade of investigations with lasting repercussions on political accountability and transparency. From a governance perspective, the episode exposes vulnerabilities in the integration of private sector leaders into public office and the risks of blurred lines between personal business interests and national policy. The Musk-Trump conflict thus may serve as a cautionary tale, prompting calls for clearer regulations and ethical standards governing the relationship between government and powerful individuals. Looking ahead, how this feud resolves or whether it intensifies will significantly shape American political culture, corporate governance, and the trajectory of technological advancement. The unfolding conflict between Donald Trump and Elon Musk has exposed deep fissures in the intersection of politics and business. What began as an alliance of convenience has morphed into a high-stakes rivalry with implications far beyond their personal grievances. The consequences of their dispute will resonate through government policy, market stability, and national security for years to come. If you found this detailed analysis informative, please like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth coverage of the biggest stories shaping our world today. Your engagement helps us continue to provide fact-driven, professional journalism that cuts through the noise. Stay tuned for more updates on this story and others that matter.